The Law of Attraction. Welcome to my channel, The Secrets to Law of Attraction and Beyond. I'm your host, Kenton David Bell. Please subscribe. Amazon Swamp Monsters and Bitter Brew, a lesson in discernment, distinctions, and darkness. On my third trip to the Amazon, I returned to Tena, deep in Ecuador's basin. This frontier town serves as a jumping-off point for many venturing into the Ecuadorian Amazon. It pulses with a kinetic energy. Foreigners, indigenous people, and Ecuadorian citizens, all moving with purpose through dusty streets. Stores overflow with every imaginable item needed for jungle survival, whether you truly need it or not. Years back, I'd found a shamanic family based here, descendants of the Quichua people who trace their lineage to the Mayans. Finding trustworthy Ayahuasca shamans can be challenging in what has become a booming cottage industry. Anyone can call themselves a shaman these days, but I trusted this family, having worked with them several times. I preferred their approach to what I'd experienced in Peru, where the scene felt flooded with self-proclaimed shamans and naive Northern American plant medicine tourists. Over time, I developed a particular relationship with Don Luis, the elder shaman, and his son Juan, who spoke the best English of all in the family, and was gradually taking over his father's role. At least, that's how my Western perception processed it. Usually we'd stay and work at their eco-lodge deep in the jungle, about 2 hours hike from the nearest road. The journey in always felt like walking through molasses, while the return seemed to take half the time, my feet barely touching the ground as we hiked back to civilization. This time, though, we were meeting in town. I waited 90 minutes at our arranged meeting spot before calling Juan. No answer. I'd learned to relax in these untethered moments. The magical gates into shamanic worlds don't open for initiates unless they're willing to let go of Western concepts of time and schedules. These gates, I discovered, can only be unlocked by keys within the mind of the beholder. When Juan didn't show, I took a taxi to their community compound outside Tena, near the Napo River. The 30-minute drive took us over a bridge, then along the riverbank, before turning up a hill so rough, both the driver and I doubted the car would make it. We did. We had to. I had no plan B. Their compound looked like an abandoned middle school grounds fallen into disrepair. Beyond this first impression lay a small area where Don Luis and his family lived part-time, saving them the daily trek to their Amazon retreat. The taxi dropped me off, and I started knocking on the clapboard house. An unfamiliar older woman answered and found Don Luis, who appeared from his nap, looking slightly disoriented. He greeted me in limited English, and when I asked about Juan, offered no clear explanation for the missed meeting. But that didn't matter now. I was here, and something was already beginning to unfold. They gave me a basic room, concrete floor, bamboo weave walls with timber framing, and a roof that didn't quite seal out the elements. Holes peppered the walls, and the thin mattress on the rudimentary wooden frame offered minimal comfort. Yet, I felt perfect here. There was a vibe, a sense of homecoming. About 70 yards to the right of my accommodations stood their ceremonial circle, used for in-town ceremonies. I'd never participated in a ceremony here at their community compound before, but I was informed we would be having one that evening. Perfect timing. By nightfall, I had been preparing both mentally and physically since afternoon. The rules were clear: no food after lunch, and even lunch should be very light, if anything at all. When we gathered for ceremony, Juan was present, along with Don Luis, who would lead tonight's ceremony, and 2 family members. A woman and man introduced as Juan's uncle and aunt, though the language barrier made family relationships difficult to confirm. The ceremony began as usual around a small fire, not for ritual effect, but to heat the ayahuasca, which needs reheating to activate the DMT after sitting. They handed me a small cut gourd containing perhaps half a cup of what looked like dirty dishwater. To call it bitter understates the reality. It's an aftertaste that lingers until purging mercifully displaces it. I drank when Don Luis offered it with reverence, then lay down on my mattress, wrapped in my personal deep, multi-hued purple alpaca ceremony blanket. Here in town, we didn't need the mosquito nets that were essential in the jungle. Within 30 to 45 minutes, the medicine began working. First came that familiar discomfort, the feeling of being uncomfortable in your own skin as you wait for what's often called the little death. This is the ego's surrender, the gateway opening so the doors of perception can spread wider, inviting the universe to step through. I hadn't done a ceremony for a while and felt deeply in need of it. As always, the first part involved connecting with the spirit of Aya, the mother goddess of ayahuasca. Aya's a real intelligence, often appearing visually, with a wooden face representing the vine. In my experience, she's the most loving, compassionate, supportive spiritual conduit for healing I've ever encountered. She holds you in grace and forgiveness, allowing you to unwind and separate from false identifications, making space for your authentic self to emerge. The medicine's urgency drove me down the candlelit path to the outhouse. 3 simple stalls, each with its flickering candle. Such a basic setting for what was about to unfold. My body knew its business. The physical purging that comes with ayahuasca, a familiar process by now. But even as my body went through its necessary cleansing, something else was beginning to emerge. The transformation started with the light. The candle's flame began moving differently, its rhythm matching the ancient tempo of oil lamps in sacred chambers. The concrete walls didn't so much disappear as reveal their alternate nature, like a photograph double exposed with ancient stone. The rough surface became smooth in places, aged and consecrated by millennia of ritual use. The same candle now casts 2 different kinds of shadows, the sharp, immediate ones of the outhouse, and the deeper, more mysterious ones of the temple chamber. Both spaces existed simultaneously, neither more real than the other. The physical act of purging began to align with ancient rites of purification, my body's cleansing matching the soul's preparation for its journey. The hieroglyphs emerged gradually at first, then with sudden clarity, living symbols of gold that pulsed with their own inner light. They weren't just written on the walls. They emerged from within the stone itself, each one carrying meanings that went beyond mere translation. These were keys to transformation, maps for the soul's journey through the underworld. 3 priest figures moved through their sacred duties. Their chants weren't sound, but pure intention, vibrating at a frequency that reorganized reality itself. The magic they worked was both infinitely ancient and immediately present. The same technology of consciousness that the medicine was now activating in my own awareness. I existed in multiple roles simultaneously as the initiate, my physical body purging in alignment with spiritual cleansing. As an observer, witnessing this sacred technology of transformation, as possibly one of the priests, remembering duties performed countless times, as perhaps the soul being prepared, receiving the rites of passage. The embalming wasn't just physical preservation. It was a technical process for preparing consciousness to navigate different realities. Each hieroglyph they inscribed was a code, a key for unlocking safe passage through dimensional boundaries. Their magical protections weren't superstition, but practical tools for consciousness navigation. The physical purging aligned perfectly with each level of ritual cleansing. The body released its toxins. The emotional body released stored trauma. The spiritual body received its protective inscriptions, and the soul prepared for its journey between worlds. The hieroglyphs continued their dance in the candlelight, each symbol a living entity sharing its wisdom. The concrete walls held both realities without contradiction. The humbleness of the outhouse making the sacred ceremony more profound, not less. This was the medicine's teaching. There is no separation between sacred and profane, between high ceremony and basic bodily functions. All of it was one continuous ritual of transformation. Even the smell of the outhouse played its part, matching the sacred scents of oils and resins used in ancient rites. The discomfort of purging aligned with the initiatory ordeals of temple mysteries. Everything served the process of transformation, every element exactly where it needed to be. I found myself laughing at the perfection of it. This profound ancient ceremony playing out in an Amazon outhouse. The laughter itself was part of the ceremony, breaking down the last barriers of spiritual pretense. The priests in my vision seemed to share the joke, their serious ceremony containing its own divine humor. And through it all, the hieroglyphs kept moving, kept teaching. Physical purging releases more than physical toxins. Sacred space exists wherever consciousness recognizes it. Ancient mysteries continue their work through unlikely channels dissolving time as if it was dust. The boundary between worlds is thinner than we imagine. As I prepared to return to the ceremony house, I understood that this vision wasn't just a memory or hallucination. It was an active transmission of ancient temple technology. Delivered in exactly the setting, my ego was least likely to resist it. The medicine's message was clear. True spirituality embraces every aspect of existence, even the most mundane, transforming all into sacred ceremony. Don Luis moved through his usual routine. He sprayed holy water from his mouth onto each person, struck them with leaf bundles, and chased out negative energies. I'd seen this before. Nothing extraordinary. Then something changed. As he worked on one of his relatives, he transformed. I was on a powerful hallucinogen, yes. But I know how to ride these waves. I can tell the difference between meaningful visions and simple hallucinations. This was real. The indigenous man became something else, not human. A swamp creature from the deep Amazon rivers. its face reshaped into something between alien and Teletubby. A trumpet-like proboscis extended a foot from its face. Perhaps nose, perhaps mouth, perhaps both. The being wasn't friendly looking, but it radiated love. Pure love. I watched it draw dark astral forms from people's bodies, consuming their negative energies. This was its service. This was its gift. We in the Northern Hemisphere don't make space for such beings. Cultures do. My turn came. I'd already gone through my usual process. The one where I end up on a spaceship with benevolent ETs, plugged into their computers while they clear my issues telepathically. I'm never completely sure if that's what's really happening. Maybe it's just how my mind translates the experience into something I can understand. The trumpet nose being bent over me. It pulled dark shadows from my core, ingesting them. The sensation was pure unconditional love, supportive, healing. Don Luis's human movements continued. The smoke blown on my face, water sprayed, leaves striking my body. But behind these actions, the swamp creature worked its deeper magic. As the session wound down, Don Luis's human form returned. The swamp creature receded back to the underworld. That's what this is. Underworld work. Like tending to a tree's roots. We see and love the tree above ground, but its health depends on what happens below, in the dark, where most people never look. The shaman's job is to work in that darkness, to tend those roots, to partner with beings that live in those depths. This is how healing happens. This is how we thrive. Ayahuasca cleanses the root systems and brings light to the underworld. This is also where you can meet your ID, the psychological term to describe an aspect of the hidden personality, ego, focused on what it wants now for gratification of desires and base needs. I think of it as Gollum from The Hobbit, his desire, his obsession with the ring. These aspects reside deep within every one of us. Most never meet their ID, the primitive, basic, and fully unconscious part of the personality I had in a previous ceremony years before. In Peru, that's a different story. The swamp creature receded. Don Luis's human features returned, then his face changed again. This time he became a crocodile. Not an alligator, there's a difference. Crocodiles have square snouts. Alligators are pointed. I learned this in Africa as a child, watching them from safe distances with my mother and brother. The distinction mattered. Crocodiles don't exist in South America. Only alligators live here. Yet Don Luis's face had clearly transformed into a crocodile's square snout and all. Tears fell from his reptilian eyes. Don Luis himself wasn't crying. The tears belonged to the vision alone. They rolled down scaled cheeks, clear as morning light. I recognized this as symbolic clairvoyance. A message was being delivered. 2 words surfaced in my mind. Crocodile tears. Something whispered to remember this moment. I filed it away, knowing significance would reveal itself later. The tears kept falling. The ceremony ended. People drifted back to their rooms in the family house up the trail. My room stood empty and quiet. Sleep wouldn't come. The medicine still moved through me. My heart felt open, life force flowing clean and strong. I ate bananas I'd brought for after the ceremony. Sugar and potassium to rebuild the body. The fruit tasted like salvation. Morning brought the usual post-ceremony fatigue. Good fatigue. Clean fatigue. I needed to get back to Tena. Catch a bus to Baños. The spa town waited 2 hours away. Juan helped arrange a taxi. Something felt off. He'd been quiet since the ceremony. Distant. Not like him. His energy carried hesitation, thoughts he wouldn't share. Don Luis said he needed a ride to town. Doctor's appointment. Asked to share the cab. I agreed. The morning light showed strange details. Manila folders in Don Luis's hands. Official papers. Wrong somehow on an indigenous shaman. We got in the taxi. Juan stayed behind, silent. Don Luis began to talk. Cancer, he said. Terminal, he implied. Tears rolled down his face. The vision clicked into place. Crocodile tears. The medicine had shown me truth before it happened. I understood everything. Juan's distance, the manila folders, the convenient shared ride. Don Luis wasn't dying. He wanted money. Juan knew. His silence was shame for his father's game. I played along, let Don Luis perform his grief, watched it grow more theatrical by the mile. You should do a ceremony for it, I suggested. Can't, he said through tears. Won't work for this. I paid for the taxi when we arrived, said goodbye. Never saw Don Luis again. Years later, before the pandemic, I returned to work with the family. Don Luis had retired from ceremonies. Juan said he was fine. The cancer had mysteriously healed. The medicine gives truth if you know how to read it. Sometimes it comes as a crocodile, crying false tears in the jungle night. Trust isn't simple. Don Luis tried to con me. I still trust his medicine. Juan grew into a gifted healer. Our connection deepened over years. Some people carry true power. You feel it or you don't. Juan does. His father's game was ego stuff. Surface noise. Westerners flood their sacred spaces with money and expectations. We break things without meaning to. Sometimes they take what they can get back. Peru taught me worse. Shamans there sometimes killed people. University degrees and perfect English don't make someone trustworthy. Death doesn't care about credentials. But one con job didn't poison the well. The medicine works, or it doesn't. The spirits come or they don't. Don Luis's tricks lived in a different realm than his healing. Real danger exists. Most fear isn't that. Being uncomfortable isn't being unsafe. But ceremonies crack you open. Things can get in. Astral forms. Energy parasites. Thought constructs looking for homes. They slide through the gaps. Medicine makes. Western healers often can't see them, much less remove them. I know. You need clear eyes, sharp instincts. The physical world mirrors higher ones. Pride blinds. Humility lets you see what's actually there. Power flows through strange channels. Nature follows laws we barely grasp. The universal current moves through everything, even lies and shadows. Your soul chose this journey before you had a name. It knows what it needs. Sometimes poison on the surface feeds medicine underneath. Most people live horizontal, skating across the surface of things. Soul lives vertical, drops through layers of reality. The question isn't about trust or don't trust. It's about seeing clearly, living from soul instead of surface, letting reality be what it is instead of what you wish. Can you hold both? The con man and the healer? The danger and the medicine? The human and the spirit? That's where wisdom starts. Reality shows itself when you stop insisting what it should be. Power comes when you see what's there, not what you hope for. Everything else is just wishing. What you think is real isn't. Reality lives in shadows, in spaces your eyes skip past. Power comes from learning to see there. People fly to the Amazon clutching guidebooks and intentions. They want healing but don't understand what healing is. The medicine shows them. Most look away. Western medicine chases symptoms. Energy workers chase surface pains. Even shamans sometimes only scratch the bark. Nobody wants to find the root. We're taught to solve problems from the outside. Take a pill, say a prayer, dance in moonlight, anything but look within. People say they want healing. Truth is, they'd rather die than face themselves. Our culture builds walls between us and responsibility. I know this path. I walked it. Chased external fixes, blamed everything but myself. Then the medicine taught me to see in dark places, to look where it hurts, to find truth in shadows. Real healing starts when you stop running. When you turn and face what lives in your own depths. When you accept that everything you see out there lives first in here. Most won't do this work. Too much pain, too much truth. Easier to stay blind. But power lives in the dark. In places you've been taught to fear. In parts of yourself you've been trained to deny. The medicine shows you this, whether you want to see or not. The fifth auric level vibrates like sound made visible. Access comes through stillness first, through dropping beneath thought. Your consciousness needs to match its frequency. Meditation helps, but not the kind where you force quiet. The kind where you sink into your own depths until you feel the hum. The vibration lives there always. We just learn not to hear it. Sound shapes this level. Certain tones can crack it open. That's why shamans sing. Why ceremonies use drums. Why Juan's grandmother could shift. She knew the sound out of jaguar in her bones. Shape-shifting starts with knowing your form isn't fixed. Juan's grandmother didn't change shape. She remembered she was never just one shape. Western minds call this metaphor, something to explain deeper truths. But the jaguar pad prints in jungle mud were real. The empty grave was real. The whirlwind that carried her spirit back to fur and fang was real. Truth lives in layers. Juan sees them all at once. No separation between woman and jaguar, between life and death, between spirit and matter. All one pattern, shifting like jungle shadows. Juan doesn't translate between worlds. He lives in all of them at once. When he speaks of his grandmother's jaguar form, he means exactly what he says. His reality includes human grandmother making dinner, black jaguar marking territory, spirit moving between forms, wind that responds to death, graves that empty themselves, all equally true, all happening now. We're taught reality is solid, fixed. Our science splits everything into pieces. Our minds build walls between what's possible and what's not. We say this or that, real or imaginary, physical or spiritual. Juan's world says this and that, all real, all one pattern. The medicine shows this, opens eyes that see through layers. But Western minds fight it. We'd rather understand than experience, rather explain than know. Truth doesn't care what we believe. The jaguar still walks. The fifth field still hums. Reality still shifts. We just choose not to see. Some things you just know, like sunrise, like breath, like truth when it stands before you. Proof becomes irrelevant when knowing goes bone deep. The West needs new eyes now. Not to see jaguars in human skin. That's not our way. But to see how reality bends. How minds can shift. how perception shapes what's possible. We need to shapeshift our rigid thoughts, our split vision, our divided selves, our way of seeing each other. Castaneda wrote about this. His Don Juan taught paths between worlds. Solutions hide there, in spaces between ordinary sight. The answers we need live in realms we've forgotten how to enter. Juan recognized my learning. You work well with the medicine now, he said. Simple fact. No pride needed. I could lead ceremonies safely, hold space for others, but that's not my path. This matters because false shamans multiply here. They claim initiations they never had, declare paths they haven't walked, shine too bright on the surface. Real shamans don't care if you believe them. Don't bend for money. Don't need to prove anything. The dangerous ones smile wide, say everything's fine, act like breaking open souls is simple work. You don't want these people holding space when you're cracked open, when your defenses drop, when anything could slip in. I've seen what gets in, seen what happens when unprepared guides try to lead, seen damage that takes years to heal. The medicine shows true paths, but you have to know how to look, how to tell real darkness from false light, how to shapeshift without losing your core. Truth doesn't need polish, doesn't seek approval, just stands solid as sunrise, waiting for eyes that see. Real healers have dirt under their nails, walk with shadows close. No power isn't pretty, a story. Peru again, shaman with university degrees, perfect English, website full of light and love. His ceremonies left people fractured, pieces of their souls scattered, some never came back whole. Another Ecuador mountains, old woman in a mud hut, barely spoke, didn't want visitors, fixed what others broke, never advertised, never charged, just worked. The medicine shows you both, true paths and false ones, doors that open to power, doors that open to void, signs of false guides, too much talk, too much shine, too many promises, too easy answers, signs of true ones, comfortable with silence, comfortable with darkness, no need to convince, no fear of saying no. The medicine opens you wide, drops all defenses, anything can enter. Light beings, dark entities, lost souls, hungry spirits, someone else's karma, someone else's pain. False guides can't see these things, can't stop them entering, can't clear them after. People leave ceremonies carrying shadows they didn't come with. True guides know power isn't safe, healing isn't pretty, medicine is an entertainment. Not everyone is ready. The path needs both light and shadow, needs guides who walk both, who know both, who fear neither. But most important, know your own truth, feel your own path. Some are called to lead ceremonies, some to other work, some to quiet power, some to loud healing. No path better than others, just different songs in the same ceremony, different shapes of the same power. Truth knows itself, doesn't need proving, just is. True healing moves like water underground. It finds the deep places, touches root causes. The words around it stay simple because truth needs no decoration. I've watched it work both ways. In Ecuador, a healer sits silent in a bare room. She touches nothing, says nothing. 20 years of pain dissolves like morning mist. In Peru, a famous shaman waves crystals in perfect arcs. His prayers sound beautiful. His power leaves hooks in souls. Real power carries the taste of mountain air, clean, sharp, complete in itself. False power smells like hunger, like needs unmet. It feeds but never fills. The medicine shows each person their truth without drama. Some hands were shaped for ceremony drums. Other voices carry different songs. Power works through silence as often as sound. My hands know ceremony but don't need to lead it. Juan saw this truth in me before I spoke it. When he confirmed it, the words simply matched what my body already knew. Your true path feels like breathing after holding breath too long. The body recognizes home before the mind names it. Power moves differently through each person. Through touch, through voice, through silence, through empty space. Real power flows like river current, never draining its source. It moves through, not from. I've watched Juan work with this current. His power finds its level like water. No force needed. The medicine strips away pretense to show what lies beneath. It reveals who holds true power, who borrows it, who steals it, who was born carrying it. Discernment grows from scars. Trust comes from broken trust restored. Wisdom rises from foolishness burned away. Sight emerges from blindness faced. Power builds from powerlessness accepted. The medicine teaches through gradual revelation, through failure, through wrong turns, through lost paths, found again. You learn to feel the difference between power that feeds and power that devours, between healing that frees and healing that binds, between teachers who reveal and teachers who hide, between medicine that serves and medicine that takes. Truth stands naked in plain sight. It waits like mountain air, like river current, like the feeling of coming home. It needs no ornament, no explanation, no proof beyond itself, like sunrise. Ego leads downward. From first breath to last, it pulls us toward earth. We follow it like gravity, thinking we have no choice. Each death becomes suicide, the final surrender to ego's promise that this is all there is. But there's another way, a path off the wheel. The Hindus named it karma, but names don't matter. What matters is seeing what's real. Start here. Nothing you see in the world is real. The buildings, the money, the power games people play, all shadows on cave walls. Reality lives deeper, in principles that don't change, in soul lessons that repeat until learned. People chase power in bank accounts. They think freedom has dollar signs. Even billionaires stay trapped. Money itself isn't wrong. It moves like water through the world. But it can't buy what the soul needs. We project ourselves here like light through a prism, non-physical beings playing in physical space. This density teaches what spirit realms can't. But don't get lost in the game. Don't mistake the projection for the projector. The medicine shows these truths. For some, it opens doors. For others, windows. For many, it breaks walls they needed for shelter. Not everyone needs to see behind the curtain. Not everyone is ready for how deep the rabbit hole goes. I went to South America seeking truth. Found it in jungle darkness, in ceremony spaces, in broken expectations. The medicine works perfectly. Shows exactly what each soul needs to see. Sometimes that vision heals, sometimes it shatters. Both can serve the path. Real power knows the difference between what feeds and what fills, between wealth that chains and wealth that frees, between death that ends and death that transforms. Choose your spiral, downward with ego or upward with soul. Every moment makes this choice. Souls choose paths, like rivers choose valleys. Some flow straight, some meander, all find their level. Some souls learn through. Night's darkness teaches them light. Poverty teaches them abundance. Loneliness teaches them connection. Pain teaches them healing. Others learn through. Wealth shows them emptiness. Power shows them service. Knowledge shows them wisdom. Love shows them truth. The physical world provides resistance. like water for swimmers, like gravity for dancers. Without weight, strength can't grow. A soul might spend lifetimes learning one lesson: how to receive love, how to stand alone, how to hold power, how to let go. Each life adds texture. Each death adds understanding. The body remembers what the mind forgets. Physical lessons carry spiritual weight. Broken bones teach boundaries. Empty stomachs teach trust. Full banks teach emptiness. Silent rooms teach listening. Some souls need crowds, need noise, need movement. The chaos shapes them. Others need desert silence, mountain solitude, ocean vastness. The space forms them. No path better than another. A forest needs all kinds of trees. Some reach for light. Some grow in shade. All belong. The medicine shows each soul its chosen curriculum, sometimes gently, sometimes not. Truth doesn't care about comfort. Each body carries its soul's syllabus, written in flesh and bone. Each life unfolds exactly as designed, even when it feels like falling. The learning never stops. Even masters stay students. The ocean never stops shaping stone. I am Kenton David Bell, master healer, future visionary, student of power and authority. May your path be walked by an awakening you. May you learn to see in the dark. May you learn to listen to your heart. Blessing.
Hi there, it's Kenton. Thank you for visiting my YouTube channel, The Secrets to the Law of Attraction and Beyond. We also have a virtual classroom, soul food, and fuel for your life. If you go to my website, www.kentondavidbell.com, you'll find the link there where you can join. It's on the Skull platform. Look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you.